case against socialism, and I have to say, I was saying this before, this is kind of one-stop shopping if you want to understand the economics and the history and the grisly violence and the body count, and even taking a look at why young people are sort of romanced by this thing. This is the one place that people can get that. It's an impressive feat that you guys have accomplished.
Yeah, and one of the funny responses that people come up to me and they say, well, gosh, it shouldn't really be necessary.
Yeah.
They're like, and I kind of think that too. We've all read like Mises's Socialism and all these critiques of socialism, and yet it's like, unfortunately, it is necessary. The new generation didn't read that, didn't pay attention to history. Might have something to do with the government schools that taught this generation, but I'm very worried. When you see polling that says over half of young people think socialism would be a good idea, and it's like, really? They haven't heard about what socialism did last century?
Yeah. But I think they probably haven't heard, right? They didn't get it in school.
I think they have no idea. They have no idea. And in fact, I think if you ask people, was Hitler a socialist, they'd probably say, oh, no, he was a capitalist. That was capitalism run amok.
Yeah.
And we talk a little bit about that in the book because even the political spectrum, you would say, well, the political spectrum is benign. That's just objective teaching of history. Well, not exactly, because whoever devised the spectrum once upon a time decided to put Hitler over here and Stalin over here. And instead, they're really the two forms of the same thing, both socialist. One is National Socialism and racism and, the racial violence of Hitler. And the other one is a different type of socialism, but it's nevertheless equally as violent.
Yeah. Yeah, that chapter, and I know we're all arguing about this now, and the left loves to compare everybody to Hitler, but you prove fairly conclusively, you document the fact that Hitler, before there was something called fascism, same with Mussolini as well. They were socialists, and
right.
And they were really fighting about power as opposed
Right.
to ideology.
Well, and even Hitler was very proud that his was a unique form of socialism. It wasn't that it wasn't socialism, it wasn't Bolshevik socialism, and he hated the Bolsheviks. But his was a unique. He tied nationalism to socialism.
Yeah.
And he wanted to skip over sort of the class struggle and all the malaise that happened and all the stuff that happened and when the Bolsheviks took over from the Tsars. He wanted to skip that and just take the unification of all of Germany, sort of greater Germany, greater Übermensch, the Supermen, etc. He wanted to skip over the bad part and just have national socialism. But in the end, both Stalin's socialism and Hitler's socialism end up having for some reason, some commonality. Millions of people had to die.
Yeah, yeah. So Mises, and I think it was in the book Liberalism, he talks about that the flavor is different, right? So Marxism, socialism tries to divide people by class horizontally,
right.
and then fascism tries to divide people by
right.
race or religion or ethnicity.
I think you're exactly right, but I think it's also there was a purposeful intent by historians and political scientists to make sure that Hitler wasn't a socialist. I mean, it was a concerted effort because they saw what Hitler did, and
yeah.
people began to know about the Holocaust before they knew about what Stalin was doing, but they wanted to make sure socialism is good, Hitler is bad, we're not associated with it. If he was a socialist also, then they have some explaining to do, and then, we don't really hear fully about Stalin's pogroms in the millions we were hearing about it, but until Khrushchev finally admits in the 60s how bad it was, and we still continue to learn for another decade how many millions of people were killed under Stalin.